Welcome to Food Freedom Radio. I'm Laura Hedlund, a student of nature-led gardening and a person seeking wellness and balance in a world that can feel so unwell and so chaotic. On today's show, we're going to be talking about NSK SD, and that's a patented, it's very important to say, patented natural supplement made from natto. And with us is Vincent Hackle. He's the president and chief executive officer. Welcome to Food Freedom Radio, Vincent.
Greetings.
Greetings. Share a little bit about your background.
I have been working with the ingredients for the nutritional supplement space since 1996. That's all I've done in my career since then, and have been working with Japan Bioscience Laboratories, the manufacturer of NSKSD in Japan, since 1998.
Since 1998, that's a long time. So what is NSK 50?
So very quickly, since the 700s, the Japanese have been eating natto, which is a food where you take soybeans and ferment them with Bacillus subtilis natto, a good probiotic that's commonly found in dirt. It's like one of the most commonly found bacterias all over the world. It's good for people and people eat it. And natto is a food that is very healthy and very nutritious and filling and a great snack. And about 70% of the Japanese population eats it virtually every day. But 30% of the Japanese population don't care for it at all. So we came along and figured out how to isolate an enzyme that's generated in that process so that the 30% of the people who don't care for this food can still get some of the healthful benefits that food provides. So we developed this product to deliver these enzymes to people who don't like to eat the food
or don't have access. So natto since 700. So, and when I think of Japan, I do have an image of health and wellness, almost more than I think of. I think of Japanese as more health and wellness oriented than Americans. Is that a fair assumption? Or, I mean, obviously it's individual.
I lived in Japan for 5 years. It is the most civilized place on earth as far as I'm concerned. Lovely, lovely people, lovely place. They live very healthfully. Certainly eating this food is one of the contributors to that. But they also have amazing public transit. They walk all the time. Their water quality is good. Their fish consumption per capita is very high. Their vegetable consumption per capita is very high. There's a lot of things I think that contribute to their general health and well-being. I would put this food in as one of the items, certainly, that helps that.
And so, natto, you also mentioned this word dirt. And one of the things we've done a lot on Food Freedom Radio over the years is that we actually, humans, we're meant to eat. Are we meant to eat dirt? I mean, that's kind of a crazy way of saying it, but are we meant to eat dirt?
I can't speak to that, but you do read that being in nature, gardening, putting your hands in dirt has been demonstrated to be healthy in all kinds of ways, including reducing blood pressure and other things. And if you're going to be in nature, you're going to be exposed to naturally existing bacteria and other stuff. So coming across this bacteria is highly likely if you spend time in nature or if you garden.
So this product uses fermented soybean-derived enzymes. So talk about that.
Yeah. So literally we take soybeans, throw them in a big tank, throw in this bacteria, a little bit of calcium and some other stuff and water, and let it go. And the bacteria eats the protein in the soybeans and generates this enzyme, nattokinase. It also generates about 20 other very good nutrients for people that are healthy for people. And then we filter it out and isolate this enzyme and distribute it over a carrier so that we can formulate with it properly, because it comes out very, very strong and intense, and you want to put it into, we concentrate it into 20,000 fibrin degradation units per gram, so that people can then formulate with it into tablets and capsules and soft gels and things like that.
Now, this is a patented, the product got patent, and that's it's really hard to know what to trust when it comes to these supplements. Tell us about that process. What's involved in that?
We did get patents. We have patents on production. We have patents on removing a vitamin K2, which is a fabulous vitamin in and of itself, and everyone should eat it. But our first customer in the United States was a company called Allergy Research Group. And at that time, and I think to some extent currently as well, but they would work with people to get off of prescription drugs into natural alternatives. And people who are on warfarin or Coumadin back then, blood thinning drugs, should not increase their consumption of vitamin K2. So we took vitamin K2 out so that those people who take those drugs could also take our enzyme, which would help them. And that's another patent that we obtained. But we've done some other things too. We have extensive safety data that we've developed and published, and extensive clinical data that we've developed and published. And it's important to know that the enzyme you're consuming is safe and effective and produced properly, and that's where the patents and our clinical data come into play.
Now, of course, everybody's different, right? And so and how might people use this NSKSD? How might people use that?
Well, now I'm just going to sound like a shill, somebody trying to sell my stuff. My answer is virtually everyone. I don't think young children would necessarily benefit from it, but pretty much anybody that goes over, 35 years old or and up could benefit from it. But the reason why I say that is NSKSD's primary function is it improves blood flow. It reduces red blood cell and blood platelet aggregation. It does a bunch of other things, but it improves your blood flow in your own body and allows your body to do the stuff it needs to do. And the results are amazing. It reduces blood pressure. It improves people who have cold fingers and cold toes and hands and feet. It reduces inflammation. It does a lot of good things, and all of that is really just assisting your body in what it can do when your blood flow is where it needs to be.
And so that it is. So how does NSKSD work? How does it work?
So you ingest the enzyme, and which is a protein, and some of that protein intact is taken up into the bloodstream, and some of that protein is broken up into fragments, and those fragments are taken up into your bloodstream, and both have different benefits and different activities. And then it goes into your bloodstream, and some other affects your coagulation cascade in particular ways and leads to increased blood flow, and then the benefits I just described.
So, yesterday someone was telling me about someone that had extreme diabetes, and their legs were literally turning purple because of it. So, those can be problems that we have, those extreme problems when we don't have proper circulation, correct?
Yes, diabetes can be terrible in people's circulation. In all honesty, we don't have clinical data on people with with challenges in their blood flow who have diabetes. That is a clinical study we haven't done, and that's a great idea that we should do that. We certainly have human clinical data on increasing blood flow in general. And my assumption is it would help those people with diabetes as well, but that is not something we've clinically investigated yet.
So, with NSK ST, um, who should be exploring this supplement? And again, I want to say everybody's different, right? So, but who should be
Well,
exploring these
m-
supplements?
men who are worried about their heart health and their blood pressure, women who are worried about their heart health and their blood pressure. You can get into specific categories. Women who are on hormone replacement therapy have a higher incidence of thrombosis and blood clots than general population. Women who are on birth control pills have a higher incidence of blood clots than general population. Men and women both who have higher blood pressure. Higher blood pressure can be correlated with cardiovascular challenges. So um, most groups, in our opinion, anyway.
So we're going to need to take a break. We're talking with Vincent Hackle. He's the president and chief officer, and he is working with a Japanese company. It's a patented natural supplement, NSK SD. And when we come back, we really want to explore how do we know what to trust when it comes to supplements? Who should take what? Everybody is different. How do we connect some of these things that work so well for our health and well being in our systems? You're listening to Food Freedom Radio. I'm Laura Hedlund, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Food Freedom Radio. I'm Laura Hedlund, a student of nature-led gardening and a person seeking wellness and balance in a world that can feel unwell and chaotic. And right now with us is Vincent Hackle. He is the president and chief executive officer in the United States and associated with Japanese Bioscience Laboratory. Through science, creating a healthier world. So let's talk about that, through science, creating a healthier world. Vincent?
Yeah, well, we specialize in taking foods that we know are associated with health benefits, provide a bunch of great nutrition for people, examine it and try to figure out which of the components seem to have the most efficacy and have the most effects, and then isolate those so that we can offer those through supplements to people, because it's harder to package the complete food. We support everyone eating whole foods. I mean, that's the best way to get your nutrition for sure. But in the way we live today, sometimes we're busy and we don't always get around to that. So if we can take some of the good stuff out and put it in pills and capsules and get it into people's hands, that can help people.
And before we went on the air, I shared a story of somebody I know that has serious iron deficiencies and heart problems. And you recommended that they eat 2 cups of beans like NMA every day.
Yeah, now we're digressing into a different category, but legumes, like humans, store iron in a protein cage called ferritin. And if you're low on iron, you go to the doctor, they draw your blood, they test your ferritin levels. And what they're testing is the concentration of that protein cage in your body, which implies both how much iron you can store and how much iron you have, because your body makes more ferritin when you have more iron, and your body makes less ferritin when you have less iron, because that's where it stores the iron that you're for later use. And beans and legumes do the same thing. That's redundant. That's the same. It does the same thing. That makes ferritin and stores the iron in it for later use. And it turns out humans have a dedicated absorption mechanism for ferritin iron called receptor-mediated endocytosis, which is a different way to absorb iron than any other type of iron out there, whether you eat meat or whether you eat supplements, or whether you eat plants that other than legumes that contain iron. So we figured out how to get that ferritin iron out of legumes in its native form, not denaturing the protein, so that when humans ingest it, they absorb it via receptor mediated endocytosis, and it goes right into the bloodstream, and it bypasses your gastrointestinal tract for the most part. And people who have had trouble with iron through other means, often this works very well for them, both in terms of their experience of absorbing iron and eating it, and in the effect of getting the iron in their body where they need it. So that's a company I own called Slow Iron, and we've done a lot of work to get to that point. It took us 10 years to get to that point.
Wow, I didn't even know you owned the company Slow Iron. And so connect Slow Iron and with the NSK SD. So do they work
The only
together?
connection is my obsession with ingredients, because in the nutritional supplement world, and it's also translating into the food world, in order to make a good one, you need to start with a good ingredient. You need to start with an ingredient that is confirmed to be safe and confirmed to be efficacious. And then you take those ingredients and put them together and build really good finished products that people go to stores or e-commerce or whatever to purchase. So all the geeky science, interesting stuff, in my opinion, occurs on the ingredient side. So that's what I do for a living, because I'm a geek.
Geeks unite. We love geeks here because health and wellness. We want that deep science, and sadly, there is a lot of people who just want to make money, and then they find little labels, and then they plaque these labels on, and they can make money. Is there any problems with that in the with the NSK supplements? That there are some that don't really use high quality ingredients?
I don't have a problem with people trying to make money,
Mm-hmm.
but to your point, it's really important to be clear when you're communicating with the consumer. So we have a enzyme that we make and sell that we've done a lot of work on, both in terms of safety and efficacy. We've branded it so that a company that buys from us can state clearly on the label, this product contains this particular ingredient with its pedigree. And then there are companies out there who fudge that and sell a different enzyme and use our science and our pedigree and say they're the same and it's just as good, but it's much cheaper. It's entirely possible the enzyme they're offering is 1,000 times better than ours. I don't know. I haven't done that clinical examination comparison. But what we tell people is that which we sell has this published safety data and this published efficacy clinical data, and you can count on it to be safe and to be efficacious in the way we've published. And that's where we stand in this market.
And so if something says NSK SD, it's from you guys. You can trust it. But
and
if they
comes
say
with our pedigree.
it
That's
comes
right.
with yours things, but if they say things like natto, it might not have that pedigree. Is that
It might. That's correct, because we invented the assay that measures the enzymatic activity, the concentration, and then we have 5 different identity tests. And when you label in the nutritional supplement industry, everyone writes the concentration, which is important because then the consumer knows how much of something they're consuming. But concentration is not the same as identity. And without the identity testing, you don't know what is in that product, because the way the assay works for concentration, many different chemicals can be tested for the same concentration using that assay, because it doesn't touch identity. Identity is a whole nother thing that we do, and we confirm the identity of our production on every batch, and we know the identity of the enzyme that we are selling, and many competitors don't are selling a different product when you compare them. It's a different enzyme. The
And
identity doesn't hold.
And NSKSD is sold at Mistel's Health Food Stores, which is a sponsor of Food Freedom Radio, and they have very knowledgeable people there. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to ask the basic question: how can people be using this ingredient to improve their well-being and their health? So you're listening to Food Freedom Radio. We're talking with Vincent Henkel. He's with NSKSD. I think I got that. NSKSD. He's the president and chief executive officer. He's been active in this space for decades. Health and wellness. Welcome back to Food Freedom Radio. I'm Laura Hedlund, a student of nature-led gardening and a person seeking wellness and balance in a world that can feel unwell and so chaotic. And on today's show, we are talking with Vincent Henkel. He's president and chief executive officer, and we're talking about a patented natural supplement, NSKSD. So welcome back, Vincent. Let's remind let's remind listeners about your background and that this is a Japanese company and some of the science behind NSK.
Yeah, we have more than 35 published studies on NSKSD. It's produced in Osaka, Japan, and it was first started marketing and sold into the U.S. market in 2002. First produced in 1998. And we try to do 2 new human clinical studies every year to continue to push the science forward.
So who should be looking at this supplement? What type of heart, older women? How should people approach this supplement?
Anybody who has a heart, anybody who has blood, because what this product does is improves your blood flow and helps your heart function better, and your blood pressure helps your blood pressure, reduces inflammation, does a lot of good stuff for you. So virtually anybody over the age of 35 or something like that.
And are doctors recommending this? I mean, this supplement? I mean,
some aren't. That's a whole different can of worms. There's doctors that embrace alternative options and those that don't.
And but okay, so this is and describe again. This comes from natto, which is a legume. Is it organic or is it GMO modified?
No, it's non-GMO. It's not an organically certifiable process. To become organically certified is a undertaking, and we can't do that. But it's verified to be non-GMO, and it's from fermented soybeans. You take soybeans and throw them in a big tank and throw in a bacteria, and the bacteria eats the protein in the soybeans and generates this enzyme called nattokinase. And then we filter it out and provide it to people through pills and capsules and stuff like that.
And it's used globally.
Yeah, we sell it to most countries in the world, certainly all over Europe, certainly in most of Asia, US, all of Northern California, North America. We're moving into South America now.
So a lot of people are familiar with like taking a vitamin once a day. Why would you want to take something like this? And when would you want to take it every day? Just if you're older, just take it and see how it reacts to your body, or talk to your doctor first?
We have human data showing that it peaks in the blood around 13 hours, 12 to 13 hours. We certainly recommend you take it every day. Taking it is better than not taking it. But I guess if you really wanted to dial it in, the perfect time to take it would be somewhere between 2 and 4 p.m. so that it's peaking in the blood 12 to 13 hours after that, because that's usually the middle of when people are sleeping and your blood pressure, your blood circulation is at its lowest, and it's going to have its strongest, probably its strongest benefit at that time.
And is there something specific about women's heart health and the
Well,
NSK-SD?
women, we feel like men's heart health has been talked about a lot, and people understand that men die of heart attacks, and men should exercise and drink water a lot and do things to help their heart health. But we feel that is true for women as well, but it isn't talked about as much. Women also die of heart attacks. Their experience is different, and a heart attack in a woman can look different than it does in a man. But we think more people should be talking about women's heart health so that more women are exercising and eating right and drinking enough water and doing things to help their cardiovascular health as well.
So so you've been in this since 1997. How did you come across this NSK-SD first? Tell me your
I was
personal
living
story.
and working in Japan, and I met them there and got excited about the technology. And at that time, their intention was to sell it in Japan. And I took one look at the technology and I thought, the people in the US really need this. So that's when we started talking about bringing it here. I then later joined the company officially in 2007. Um, but between 1998 and 2007, I was doing work with them as well.
Okay. And so are there other issues that people should be aware of, like the cold hands and cold feet? I remember my mom had that and it was a real problem with cold hands. So tell us about NSK and SD and cold hands.
Yeah, we
To
did a
address.
study. You can look at people's hands and feet extremities using a mechanism that shows their temperature. So when it's warm, it's red, and when it's cooler, it's blue. And you can see, using this equipment, you can literally see the colors in their hands. And we gave these people NSKSD and looked at their hands and feet with this equipment prior to ingestion, and then again some number of hours later. Forgive me, I forget. I think it's 18 hours later. Maybe it was less. And we could see the color change. They're literally the color of the light emitting from their hands and feet represented warmer hands and feet right away. And we did this study and then published it.
That's amazing because I know my mother, who sadly passed, but at age 90, but she had so much problems with cold hands. And my brother bought a big box of these hand warmers and all these other things.
Mhm.
People don't seem to know that there's this simple um, pill you can take that is documented to help.
Yeah, it can help that a lot.
Okay, and so, NSK-SD, tell us a little bit. It's available widely. We do have the partner, Mastel's Health Food in St. Paul, but it's available widely. People go to their co-ops and their health food stores. How do you recommend people connect?
Yeah, we have a number of customers who sell finished products all over the US and Canada through retail, through direct to consumer, through e-commerce stores. But the ones that buy from us usually put our logo on their label. So on the label, either in the front or in the back, it'll say NSKSD. And that means that our ingredient is in their product.
And it's a really intensive process to get something patented, which is something to look for, right? So again, if it says NSKSD, it's your product from Japan, made from fermented nano, which is non-GMO legumes.
Correct.
Cool. Okay, talk a little bit more about cardiovascular wellness.
That's a broad topic.
I
I'm not sure
know.
where you're going with that.
I'm not
I
sure.
mean, the heart is a pump, right? And it has to work hard to pump our blood. And I can't speak for you, but I know I'm very good at making that task harder for myself. I sometimes have more weight than I want. I sometimes eat the wrong things. I sometimes drink the wrong things. I sometimes don't sleep enough. I'm very good at challenging this very important muscle in my body in the wrong way. And one of the things we can do to make the task of a heart better is to make sure that our blood is healthy and drink enough water, exercise, and take this enzyme has been demonstrated to improve our circulation, and which makes the task of pumping your blood easier on your heart. And in theory, we don't have clinical data exactly demonstrating this particular statement, but in theory, it should put less stress on your heart and have it work less hard and have it function longer.
And it's a natural ingredient. So it's not,
Yeah,
what does it mean to
comes
be a
from food.
natural ingredient?
That is a great question that I don't think I'm qualified to answer. I don't know what the word natural means. It's used all over the place. We mean it to mean that this food has been consumed in Japan since the 700s, and it's still made the same way. You take soybeans, you put a bacteria in, and you ferment that food, and this comes from that food. So it's not chemically synthesized. It's not generated some other way. It comes from the food that's been in the Japanese diet for a very long time.
We've had a lot of shows on Food Freedom Radio about the importance of fermentation. And of course, it's something that I don't know if I want to use the word ancient people, but you talked about this going back well over 1,000 years. But people just naturally knew we need sauerkraut, we need kimchi, we need all sorts of fermentation. Our bodies includes these highly complex guts, and so we want to feed the gut. And so, how does NSK-SD function within the complexity of the gut, if that makes sense? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it doesn't have. We have not experienced any clinical data in humans where it positively affects the gut biome. We haven't done that research. We don't have a hypothesis. It isn't affecting that in any way that we're aware of yet. What happens is you ingest it and you absorb some of the protein intact, and some of the protein is digested into fragments, and you absorb those pieces. And we have done both in vivo and ex vivo and in vitro testing on both the whole protein and the fragments to demonstrate both reduced blood pressure, reduced C-reactive protein, improved blood flow, reduced red blood cell and blood platelet aggregation, digesting excessive fibrin. We've done a lot of work, but we haven't done any work specifically on the microbiome yet.
But okay, so you said so much. I want to unpack. So the fibrin regulation, FIBRIN. Tell us a little bit about that and how that is connected to NSK-SD.
So fibrin is one of the components that makes a blood clot. There's others, but that's one of them. And if you have too much of it, you're more inclined to have blood clots. So our bodies naturally regulate the concentration of fibrin up and down when all things are going properly. But ingesting this enzyme can help that and can make sure that isn't too much in the wrong way, and can help your blood flow and some of your other parts of your body to be healthier.
So we're going to take a break. We are talking about NSKSD, a patented natural supplement, and you can stop by your local health food aisle, whether it be at the co-op or Mistel's Health Foods. Ask about it. Especially good for older women and health, and older women and heart health. We'll be taking a break. You're listening to Food Freedom Radio on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome back to Food Freedom Radio. I'm Laura Headland, a student of nature-led gardening, and a person seeking wellness and balance in a world that can feel unwell and chaotic. And we're talking right now with Vincent Hankel. He's the president and chief executive officer of the American branch of Japanese Bioscience Laboratory. And I love what it says on this website. Through science creating a healthier world, we at Japanese Bioscience Laboratory continuously create completely new relationships between humans and microorganisms with our unique products. So it's about being relational with nature. And also our health and well-being is dependent on these systems in nature, which we haven't really understood that well. So what NSK 50 is, it's something that uses natto, or a fermented soybean. And by using this fermented soybean, which has been in the Japanese diet for over 1,000 years, we can improve our cardiovascular health and our blood flow. Am I saying that right, Vincent, do you think?
Yeah, NSKSD. Yeah, that's the name of the product. And yeah, it's definitely a product designed to benefit cardiovascular health. That's its purpose in life.
And you guys have been at this for a long time. And there are some products out there that might mimic and say they're a natto product, but yours, if it says NSK 50,
NSKSD.
NSKSD. Sorry, I've got a NSKSD. Then it is from you guys.
Yeah. Japan Bioscience Laboratories has been around since 1974 in Japan, and they started working on this product in the early 90s and started commercialization in 1998, came to the US in 2002, and then started expanding both into the US and then further into North America and Asia, Europe, other parts of the world since 2002. So we're trying to get this enzyme out there into everybody's hands so that as many people as possible can enjoy the benefits that come from eating the traditional Japanese food called natto, which is fermented soybeans, but not everyone likes it or has access to it, both in Japan and outside of Japan. So we developed this product to impart some of the healthful benefits found in the food to those people who may not have access to the food or may not enjoy it, because it's quite a unique flavor. It's very, very sort of pungent and has quite an odor to it. And even in Japan, roughly 70% of the population eats it every day, and the other 30% wouldn't go near it.
So why is it good for your body, this natto?
Well, the food is fermenting the soybeans releases and generates healthful enzymes, healthful vitamins, and other healthful compounds, polyamine and the spermidine and vitamin K2, protein. There's lots of things that come out of it. And when you eat the food, all of those benefits are there. But this enzyme, this well-researched, healthful enzyme that improves your blood flow and has other cardiovascular benefits that have been published and demonstrated, we isolate it from that food so that we can deliver it to people in pills and capsules and even in chocolate bars or gummies, things like that, that you get the benefit, but you don't have the flavor and the experience that you have when you eat the food itself.
And you also wrote an article in Whole Foods magazine that on the pillars of mental resilience. So, is there a connection here? I mean, I think a lot of us are feeling a lot of stress right now. Is there a connection at all in that area?
This is a new area of research for us. We're finding that people who ingest NSKSD, it does have positive effects on sleep, and it does have positive effects on stress. We are not certain yet on the mechanism of action. Our hypothesis is that we know it reduces blood pressure, and perhaps by reducing blood pressure, it helps people with their stress and their sleep. But these are areas that we're still investigating and trying to understand more fully. But we do see benefits for both sleep and stress.
So, you've been studying this for decades. What can you say definitively about NSK SD?
So it reduces blood pressure. It reduces inflammation as measured by C-reactive protein. It improves blood flow. It will help people whose hands and feet are cold. Can improve blood flow and make their hands and feet feel better, and can do other benefits for your cardiovascular health.
So yeah, and it's widely available. And again, we appreciate the support of Mestel's Health Food, which is a small store in St. Paul, or stopping at the co-op. This is a widely available product. Though I haven't seen the chocolates or the gummies. Where do you get those?
Nobody's done it yet. We've made
Oh,
them. We've made R&D versions with different companies, and we even made a instatized powder that you pour on your tongue and it dissolves because this enzyme is odorless and tasteless and water soluble. I, when I was a kid, we used to have something called pixie sticks, and this is kind of
love
like a
picky
pixie stick
sticks.
where you just pour it on your tongue and it dissolves. And we've even made lozenges for it. So, but no one has commercialized yet a chocolate bar or a gummy or an instantized powder with this product in North America that I'm aware of.
Well, there's tomorrow, right? We'll do that. Well, Vincent Hankel, where would people learn more about this? What website would you attract?
Yeah, you certainly can go to our website, which is jbsl-net.com, or you can try JBSL, excuse me, nsksd.info.
And I did get it. So it's Japan Bioscience Laboratory, JBSL USA. Well, I thank you so much for joining us. It was fascinating to learn about this and all the research behind this for health and well being. And thank you for listening to Food Freedom Radio.